This is Newstalk ZB News.
Good morning, it's 6:30. I'm Neva Reddy Manu. A geopolitical expert says the world's heading into uncharted territory thanks to Donald Trump's tariffs. The newly installed US president is hitting China, Canada and Mexico with his promised tariffs. All three plan to retaliate. Trump says that the measures may cause pain, but it'll be worth the price that must be paid. Democracy Project geopolitical analyst Jeffrey Miller told Andrew Dickens Trump's eyeing up tariffs for Europe next, and we're probably not far away.
Just not going to be good for a country like New Zealand. There's an old African proverb that says, when the elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. I think that's applicable here.
This is Newstalk ZB News.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock. I'm Neva Reddy Manu. A belief no country is immune from Donald Trump's tariffs. The US president is hitting China with a 10% tax, and Canada and Mexico are being slapped with 25% tariffs. All three plan to retaliate. Trump says they're being brought in to address concerns around illegal immigration and drug trafficking. Democracy Project geopolitical analyst Jeffrey Miller told Andrew Dickens, we haven't had a trade situation like this since the Great Depression.
If Donald Trump is willing to place tariffs on Canada, he's also threatening to place tariffs on the EU, then New Zealand, I don't think, has got any real protection.
Dickens.
So, as promised, President Donald Trump has slapped tariffs on goods coming from Canada, Mexico and China. 25% on imports from Canada and Mexico. China's getting 10%. All three countries plan a counterattack. Canada's already done that, albeit reluctantly. And so to talk about this, I am joined by geopolitical analyst Jeffrey Miller. Hello, Jeffrey.
Good morning, Andrew.
It's all on. It's trade wars.
It is indeed. This is the beginning of a new trade war, and it's just not going to be good for a country like New Zealand. There's an old African proverb that says, when the elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. I think that's applicable here.
Very good. We'll talk about that more in a moment, but it's going to affect America as well. There's an analysis by Ernst Young that suggests it will reduce US growth, by 1.5 percentage points this year, which you don't want. Canada and Mexico will be thrown into recession, and there'll be stagflation in all three countries. Do you think Americans and Donald Trump truly understand the economic consequences?
No, I think we're in uncharted territory here. I don't think we've been here really since the Great Depression in many ways. There was similar action taken back in 1930, ironically, and it does have, it does seem familiar in a sense from that time, because the tariffs that Donald Trump placed during his first term were lower in nature. The tariffs that he's promising now are about 3 times the level. They're much broader based. There aren't really the exceptions, except for Canadian energy, which will get a 10% tariff rather than 25%. But the tariffs on China is pretty much on everything, 10% on all Chinese goods and 25% on all goods coming from Mexico. So it's a big play from Donald Trump. And the markets don't like it. We're expecting tumbles in the markets when they open on Monday, anywhere between 0.5% and 1%. It could be more in the days to come. And that might be the only thing that possibly changes Donald Trump's mind.
Justin Trudeau has laid out retaliatory tariffs and made it very clear he's done so reluctantly. Mexico says they will follow suit. Apparently, America has retaliatory tariffs already regulated for. So if you do that, it happens. Is fighting tariffs with tariffs a good move?
Well, he's fighting fire with fire and not backing down. I guess it's a game of brinksmanship here, and Justin Trudeau will be betting on some kind of resolution, a deal being done. Of course, Donald Trump loves the deal, and he'll be hoping for much the same thing, because in the end, this is being used as a power play. It's being used, Donald Trump is putting these tariffs in place under emergency legislation dating back to 1977, which is why he's got these reasons of fentanyl and illegal immigration as the reasons, because he needs a rationale for doing this. And he's looking for concessions, much in the way that he got concessions from Colombia. Colombia had to agree to take in those deportation flights, and he'll be looking for similar kinds of concessions from Mexico and Canada, and getting the United States, as he would see it, a better deal.
So look, what kind of message is this sending to the world? Canada is a close ally of America. Look at Justin Trudeau's speech. He evoked all the fighting on the beaches and the wars and everything. You know, we are a close friend, and yet they still have not been spared. So does New Zealand need to be wary here?
Indeed. Look, the lesson here is that no one is immune. If Donald Trump is willing to place tariffs on Canada, he's also threatening to place tariffs on the EU, then New Zealand, I don't think, has got any real protection. New Zealand isn't a formal US ally. It's a bit more distant than the likes of Canada, Australia, the UK. So I don't think New Zealand would have any great immunity. New Zealand exports 16 billion New Zealand dollars worth of goods and services to the US every year, even while there are restrictions on what we export. New Zealand still exports $2.5 billion worth of beef and other meat exports to the US every year, despite there being restrictions on it. I mean, just that alone, the meat exports that New Zealand sends to the US every year, that alone is about the entirety, or more, even slightly more than what we export to the Gulf region every year. And we just signed that new free trade agreement, or we concluded negotiations on that at the end of last year.
Taking into account that we need to be wary, the question is, should we speak out about what's actually happening in the world right now, or would that be dangerous?
Well, that's a good question. Do you want to poke your head up above the parapet and speak out, or will that just lead you to being clobbered? I think we're going to be in Donald Trump's sights anyway. As I say, if Canada and the EU are, then New Zealand can't be far away, because we've got even less protection, less to offer. We're much smaller. I think probably the answer at the moment is to keep our heads down and work with diplomatic channels. I think Winston Peters, the Foreign Minister, Todd McClay, the Trade Minister, should be working the phones with their counterparts and trying to get sanity to prevail here, because in the end, everyone's going to be the loser with a trade war.
That's true. Thank you so much. Jeffrey Miller,